Welcome to the Integrate This EdTech podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Mikla, and I'm joined by co-host David Berner, as always, and dancing to the little tunes that we had in the intro. We're extremely happy to be joined here today with Brian Buffington, who is definitely an energetic spirit. I think that's maybe a mild way of putting it. And so I think we're going to have a great conversation here today, and we want to get things started here on the right note. And by Brian, one of the things that we do is we like to let the guests tell a little bit of their own story, like how their roles in education have progressed a little bit to the spot in EdTech where they are right now. So like what brought you to that point? Was it like an itch you were scratching, or did it slowly evolve, into that spot?
Hey, I'll tell you, man, it was, for one, thank you so much for having me on your show. I've never been on a show that had an intro that nice. And then it really did. Like I was dancing because it was unusual, and it made me happy. So,
well, correct me if I'm wrong, David, was that some AI generated thing, or did that come right from?
I think that was just from our editing thing.
Okay.
It had two people. I think there's people in the pictures. Those are you guys, right?
Those were us. Oh yeah. Okay. They were.
All right. Well, first of all, I will tell the origin story, but I need to explain where I'm at. So this is Basement de Buff. I think they did my Spanish right. We're currently having some things happening upstairs, some repairs. So I got kicked out, and I'm down here. So this is where I like to store all my cool t-shirts and stuff, but it's a hot mess. So yeah, just so you know.
Now, you look like you're celebrating maybe a victory of a team too, if you're watching this.
Okay. Anytime the Dolphins can beat the Bills, I'm going all out, man. It's a rare occasion. My son and I are big Dolphins fans. The wife and my daughter are also big fans. But we're super fans. Like, we lose sleep sometimes. So yeah, we're pumped up about this.
I get how that goes too here, and I know we're getting to your story, but I live in Minnesota. I grew up in Wisconsin, so I'm a big Packer fan. So I'm waiting for the Monday night game against the Eagles tonight.
It's gonna be a great game.
Yeah. So I'm kind of lose sleep over that a little bit too, and start stressing about it, even though I have zero control over it, and I know that, but it's irrational.
Yeah, I don't know why we do these things, but we just do. We're just fans. It's crazy. Origin story. So I did teach middle school science. That's to make a very long story short. I dabbled in a few different majors in college. Figured out I couldn't pass ear training. I'm a musician, but I couldn't pass the ear training part. I like business, entrepreneurship. I had a hard time with some of the upper math classes. And then I just figured out, I was like, hey, I could probably pass middle school math. I think I could teach middle school. This might be where I can do it, And so I was like, I bet I can have enough brain to do that. And so I went to college to study middle school education. I was on the 5.5-year plan for the 4-year degree. Very expensive way to find yourself, by the way. Anyways, let's move on. Now, I started teaching middle school science, and I had someone who gave a rip about me. I don't know if you ever had somebody in your life who gave a rip about you, and it was my principal. And I'm pretty certain he saw me struggling, because I was, but he knew that I had, I had some chops with technology. Not like I was like some whiz kid or anything like that, but I just like technology as a teacher. And I thought by the way, I was the guy who brought my own wireless router to the classroom. Like, this is before we had Wi-Fi in the rooms. So I brought my own, and I'm pretty sure that would get you fired these days. But we had Wi-Fi in my room. It was awesome. And he came up to me one day. My principal came up to me and said, hey, we've got some funding, and would you like to buy some tech for your classroom? And we bought these science probes. It looks like a huge TI-83 thing, and you hook it up to different sensors, and you got the kids riding skateboards down the hallway, and they would come back and they would hook it up to a computer about that thick. and we would we just had fun. We made a lot of noise, and word got out that Brian's make a lot of noise, and then he gave me an opportunity. He said, "There's other," because I was in a district that had a few other middle schools, and so he said, "Brian, there's probably other middle schools who might like to hear about this kind of stuff. Would you like to go present at this thing?" And I said, "Sure, I'll do that." And the feedback I got was this, and this is what got me to where I am. The feedback was, Brian, that wasn't that bad. And in the world of PD, that's like a high praise. Those folks have been to some bad PD. So the bar is very, very low for all of us here. And I figured I could do something with that and really try to make professional development or professional learning, whatever you call it in Minnesota, exceptionally awesome, experiential, and just trying to try not to do the status quo every time, and so I just went all in. I liked it. I went all in, started working at a place kind of like what you guys work at, a co-op.
Yep. We're both in different co-ops in parts of the state of Minnesota. So yeah. Yep.
So I served, I worked at a co-op for 15 years, served 15 school systems, about 70,000 students in those school systems. And now I did that for a long time and decided to take Buff Nuggets on the road and see if anybody else across the country would care about what I had to say about technology. And it seems like they do, because I've been on a plane a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Just from following some of your newsletters and things, it seems like you're on the road quite often. I know you and I had a chance to chat on the phone as we were trying to set up a time to meet here. And I know you were talking to me about a story about being in Michigan for the first time. And I know you had some issues with transportation while you were there. Yeah. So is there a story there worth sharing?
It is. It's actually something that's never happened to me before. And this is very much kind of part of that mantra of just being open to the unknown. Like I have an agenda. So by the way, when I go places, I have an agenda, I have a outline, whatever, but there is a lot of opportunity to just like not follow everything in the outline based on the audience and based on the vibe. So yes, my first gig in Michigan, I was able to work with their co-op in Marquette, which is the Upper Peninsula. They call themselves the Yoopers, which was brand new for me. And I flew in this airport, and I fly all different kinds of airports, big, small, it's fine, no big deals. And I was like, what, I'll get a rental there, a rental car or an Uber. Well, this is one of those places where I should have really thought about this, because it was Sunday. All the rentals are taken. It's a very small airport. There are no Ubers. The taxi cab won't answer the call. There's only one taxi company in this small town. The city bus isn't running, none of that stuff. So I saw the last man at the rental counter with keys in his hands. So I went up to him with my guitar. I look like some just some chump. They're just like suffering. And I said, hey, Mister, can you give me a ride to the city? And he looked at me and said, man, you don't look too, he says, you look pretty harmless. Sure. Come on. And so
a complete stranger.
Don't know this man. He was there for a taser conference. So he probably had, he had things to take care of me if I was not behaving. And so he gave me a ride, and that's a testament to just the goodness in people all around us, but we don't hear it a lot because of the noise of all the bad things. And I think there's more good than bad. It's just we only hear the bad, I think, a lot of times. So that's a whole side nugget, everybody. There's love. There's great things in communities all around, man. Big cities, small cities. There's good stuff.
So Brian, the thing I'm wondering is, with your journey from different positions and kind of now where you're doing some consulting things on your own, what is your personal views about how EdTech has shifted? Like, just given your own timeline and how, you had mentioned like you used technology early on and started to integrate that and people noticed that. and then you shared out from there. So thinking about EdTech, what has changed like over the course of that time for you?
My first gig really, when I was a professional EdTech person, was to train people how to use a smartboard. And so I got in front of the room. I didn't bring any candy, and they told me in the feedback they were pretty upset about it. But I got in front of the room. I had my corduroy jacket on, and I was like, I am the keeper of information. I know everything about the smartboard. And I got up there, and it's like, this is how you turn it on, and this is how you do this, and this is, and I showed them. And after I was done, we left. I went home and got to hang out with my family, and that was a day of work, right? I know some of that training still exists where we show people how to use certain tool, like hardware and things like that. But I think now it's much more. We need it much more personalized now. Maybe that's what I'm getting at. It's just, I think there's just so many opportunities. It's like, I don't know how, I'm having a hard time with words here for a second. I know that's hard to believe. But I just don't do a lot of that anymore. I don't know. I just don't do a lot of that kind of training anymore. I'm doing a lot more like inspiration. Like my newsletter is called Buff Nuggets. And so I'm giving people, things that are actionable that they can use, but also some things that are generic enough where people just run with it. I mean, all the tools that we have now, especially all the AI tools, if you've got creativity in your brain, which a lot of the educators I work with, like the most creative people I know, and you have experiences, you can combine your creativity and your experiences and then like make the coolest stuff, like, because we have the tools now. And so it's game on for creatives. It is. And educators, again, are having a ball with this. And so I feel like it's just such a hard job. Like I'm there. I'm just trying to, for one, have some empathy that their world and educators' world is very, very hard. I need to find something that will actually help you from in the most humble way I can. And also respect that you come today to my training, because it's training on how to use a smartboard days. Those are different than the days now. I'll just say that it's just very, very different. A lot of different stressors, complications. So I'm really trying to throw a mini party in the most way I can. When I see people, I want to celebrate the good things, making people feel good. I'm bringing a guitar. I got people coming on stage wearing shark hats, and we're learning about Gemini. I mean, I don't know. It's just like, I'm trying to practice what I preach a little bit more and make things, as we expect teachers to be experiential in the classroom. I'm trying to make professional development experiential too.
It's that modeling piece of it. I think if you want to be able to, impart upon teachers that, this is how, you should be with your kids in the classroom, then we in professional development need to kind of model some of that as with the teachers as our students too.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, that's like, I've seen that feedback before. I've been doing this a long time. It's like, oh, or they're talking about somebody else. They're like, well, that person wants us to do this, but they do this,
Mm-hmm.
we get to sit in our chairs all day and we don't do anything. I was like, 2 hours of a slideshow.
So I was just saying, like the thing that you mentioned that stuck out to me a little bit was the fact that the way that, or all the tools that we have available to us now, teachers can essentially choose whatever direction they want to go in that fits them, because there are so many creative tools available to them. Would you agree with that? Like, that's kind of what you were getting at.
Yeah. And I know that kind of makes, every district wants to handle that differently. So it makes some people uneasy. We want, because we need vetting. We can't have student data leaking out to bad places. And so there are tons of tools, but just some I mean, that's what we all want. Don't we want that? Don't you want that? You want autonomy, not a one size fits all approach. And so that's what that's what they're asking when we teach students, they're asking teachers to personalize content and do all these things. So, I mean, I get it. Like there are some tools, sometimes there are some tools and instructional practices that everybody needs to know. That's fine. But I think
kind of like the art and the science of the craft, right? There's the pedagogy, there's some of the stuff that's the science behind the teaching and research based, and we know what it works. But I think it's the skilled teacher who's able to find the creative way to take that knowledge that they have, and then turn it into the craft that is their teaching.
Yes, and we desperately need it. Thank you. You worded it so right. I have this poster. I have my laptop on. I have some shirts too. Here, I'll just show a shirt. 1 second. So this one says "Work Your Quirk."
Very, very much so, right?
Yeah.
Do you think if you're working your quirk, is that? Here's something that I had, thought about a long time ago when I was still in the classroom, and and I had gone out for an evening with some friends of mine who are not teachers, right? And I have this persona of myself that when I'm out there with my friends that's different than the persona of myself when I'm in the classroom with kids.
Okay.
And it's not just about appropriateness, but it's just like, I act one way with my friends. I act a different way when I'm in front of the kids. And I felt like it's much more zany, much more dad jokey when I was in front of the kids. But I didn't necessarily see that as being like I'm being fake in one group and not for one group, and the other one I'm being my authentic self. I think they were both like authentically me.
Yeah.
But my audiences were different, so I behaved differently. If that makes any sense. And maybe that works towards what you had on your shirt.
Yeah, you got to read the room. 6'7", right? I mean, is that a thing?
Yes, I will say this. Who has brought up 6'7" on our show? Nice job.
Okay, good. Is that what on the bingo card, Brian?
Yeah, right. Yep.
Okay, cool. The work your quirk thing is, it just means different things to different people, and and it kind of stemmed from the thing you just said a second ago about we all have this pedagogy sense. We have the basics. We all need to be doing what we need to be doing, but our authentic self is the reason we're not replaced by automation and AI. That's like, if we're just programmable and we're all doing kind of the same thing, then just make a buff bot and, let's get on with life. My favorite teachers are the ones who didn't mind giving a little, like letting us into their world. It can't be everything. I mean, they can still be authentic with their adult friends and with their students. And you can't have the same conversations in the same room, usually same rooms, but you still give me something that's authentic and real. And that differentiates you from the other educators down the hall, because and also students, I'm still a student. We all connect with people differently, and we all need, I know here in my community here in Northeast Georgia, there's students who don't connect with certain teachers, but some students do connect with those teachers, but vice versa. There's just we need all of us, and we're all working our quirks, and where every student needs, they need some kind of connection to an adult. That's a whole nother thing about student safety and mental health too. But yeah.
So Brian, can you unpack some of the nuggets for us? You got the buff nuggets. Maybe we could just start with the rebranding challenging classroom situation, the silly goose caboose. Could you talk a little bit about that? Maybe even get into some others as well.
You know what? Okay, so I write a lot. I have my newsletter, and if you're listening, I would love to have you sign up. I'm sure it'll be in the show notes, but it's called Buff Nuggets, and I usually do 3 to 5 actionable or inspiring tidbits, which I call nuggets. And I think the silly goose caboose came from, it may have been from my wife. Man, I'm saying I have so many nuggets. I need to put them in Notebook LM and have them. Yeah, I need to put them in Notebook LM just so I can have a catalog and have them organized. And because I can't remember all the nuggets. But my wife was telling me this, and sometimes we just overcomplicate things with tech or whatever. She said that, nobody wants to be in the back of the line. Okay. No, she taught preschool. So nobody wants to be in the back of the line. Everybody wants to be where? In the front. And so my wife's a very creative person. Her empathy level's way up here. It really is a superpower. And I get to just be in her world sometimes. It's awesome. But she told me about she said, this is all she did. I had the kids freaking out. They're in the back of the line every time. And I said, you could be in the caboose. I don't want to be in the caboose. The caboose stinks, and just that kind of stuff. And she goes, no. You get to be the silly goose caboose. Way different. And then I think she had like maybe a dance with it or something. Goes, you could be the silly goose caboose. And to a preschooler, that's like no brainer. I'm going to be the silly goose caboose. That's way cooler. And so
it's just one of those little things, though. You reframe it in such a way, and it becomes now, something that was giving you a headache to something now that is becoming like second nature to you.
It makes me think of all the little things around, like we have these complications in our classroom or in our houses or even like in our culture and world. It's like, is there something where like a one little thing that we could do that would fix everything? Or there was something that just kind of made me, here's the one. Okay. We're talking about classroom management. I think that's what one of you guys mentioned. I think Jeremy or David, this is what this stems from, right? Classroom management. How do you deal with things? Well, in Georgia, they just said, you know what? Maybe students shouldn't have phones in the classroom. Maybe they should. It's 2025. And I'm sure this is like the in-depth research, conversations, data, whatever, meetings, thousands of people, hours, hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever. And they said, no, we're gonna say no phones. I think middle school, high school, you can't have them out during the day. You got to keep them in your bag or whatever. So the overwhelming response, 99.9% of the people I ever talked to about this stuff, they're like, why did we wait to 2025? Like this, just the onslaught of complications that this brings in the classroom is not worth. It's just not worth it. Like, it's like, why did, again, when phones came out, it's like, oh, hey, we're doing, what's the word? When you wanted tech in the classroom when it first started, it's bring your own tech, BYOT. Everybody's like, oh, check, BYOT, baby. Look at my school system. We're rocking. And it was kind of, it's cool. It had some, it looked good on paper. There were some teachers who could do it well, and they kind of figured it out. Also before 6, 7 and TikTok, maybe, I don't know. But then it just got nasty. I'm guessing Minnesota, you guys have some similar issues where the pros of having students have their phones in the classroom do not outweigh the cons.
Yeah. And that's, I think, it's like Georgia sounds like it's a state where it was kind of mandated by either the Department of Ed or by the legislature, whomever, right? But in Minnesota, it's much more by individual district. And I think we have, and I think, David, in your area, you've experienced the same things, that the cell phone bans have really gone into effect. Now that's the norm.
Yep. Yeah. There's a lot. They're scaling back now.
And I don't know I think it's a state thing. I live in Georgia. I think it's a state thing. I know some states have mandated it legislatively, like Kentucky. I get to work in Kentucky some. I think Texas is a big state. I'm pretty sure they just said, we're not doing that anymore. So these are states who usually are very, we talk about, everybody has freedom to do what they want in their district, whatever. But they said this one, we want to be involved with.
So as far as some other things that you mentioned too, is that I teach things that can't be Googled. What would those things be?
I'm glad you asked, David. Well, let's do this. I'll turn around. What do you think it means, Jeremy, David? What is something, maybe a specific thing, that can't be Googled? And then I'll tell you. Let's go.
I think it's something that requires some sort of opportunity for a student to add their own personal experiences into the comparison to a similar situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be able to draw an analogy based upon those life lessons that they've learned themselves.
So I heard a little bit of synthesizing there. If I got that right, we take this. Okay. What do we get?
Mine would just be anything. I would say anything that requires human connection, right? Like if when you're having conversations with people, I mean, those are things that can't be Googled. And now we have AI, but AI can mimic conversations, but it's not actual real conversations like we're having or like Jeremy and I have regularly. This kind of goes back to our conference we recently attended, but human connection, I would say, would be a lot to do with what can't be Googled.
You know, there's no really wrong answer there, but I think both of you are saying things that I think can't be Googled. To simplify things, I do look at the World Economic Forum survey on top skills that employers want. Okay, this simplifies things for this conversation. So the World Economic Forum, they give out a survey to major employers, and they ask them what skills you actually want your employees to have. Number one is going to be usually something about analytical thinking. Mm-hmm. It's not. Now it's not something that can be Googled necessarily, but we also know AI is pretty good at analyzing things. It's pretty crazy good at it. But then also on the list is creative thinking, empathy. Empathy's on the list of something that, and to me, that's something that I can't, sure, Google empathy, but how much value does that have? But really, when I'm talking about things that can't be Googled, it is inspiring to educators because we know that's the most valuable things happening in our classrooms because the value of information has gotten, this is the keynote I just did in South Carolina. I've been working on it and revising it and trying to make it stick even better. I've been thinking about the progression of information, how we've been able to obtain information starting from the beginning where people you orally gave somebody information through talking. Then maybe someone wrote on a cave or whatever. And now we have so much information, Googleable information, that the value of information is actually very cheap. It's just not valued. And it's more so now about what do you do with information? And how do you make people feel? How can you take AI, and you hinted at this, Jeremy, how can you take AI? Because the top thing teachers talk about when they say, why do you like AI? It saves me time. Ding, 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 ding. That's the top one. What are you going to do with that time? We're like, I'm going to take a nap. I'm tired.
Exhausted. I got a pillow and a blanket in the closet in my classroom.
Exhausted teacher. Yes. But usually it comes out, if I had time, I probably wouldn't do something mundane or something that could even be cranked out with AI, because AI does pretty good with data analyzing things like that too. I want to do something that only I can do, that it require a human. So that might be having a one-on-one conversation with a student. That might be making that hard phone call. That might be creating something with AI for such as one of my top demos I'm doing with people now is we're creating live skits that about classroom culture, and we do it live right there in the audience. And I'm having people give me ideas for it. For instance, we're talking about conflict resolution, and I'm like, conflict resolution, teacher workroom. David stole Jeremy's bean burrito from the local Mexican restaurant. include some Gen Alpha slang, reference a couple Taylor Swift lyrics, and 2 minutes, make it silly. Boom. We have a skit and we do it live. I invite people on the stage. And by doing so, I get 2 people involved. They're actually doing very human things. They're on stage. They're doing something hard. They're flexing their mental muscle. It's awesome. But then probably the very best thing is I have an audience who is so engaged because those are peers and they're doing something that's not digital. We use digital to make something not digital. And it's, that's what I'm after. Those are things that can't be Googled to me. It's like creating experiences, making people feel. And a lot of the convocations I'm doing lately, when people have me kick off the year, it's like, why come to class?
Yeah.
Why come to class? Because if it could have been an email, if it could have been a slideshow, if you could put it in Google Classroom, maybe I just don't go to class because it ain't worth it.
So you touch on some of the, you kind of brought up, I think some of the initial fears that a lot of educators that we talk to face about using AI, it is definitely, it seems like to many of them, it is something they don't want to touch. They want to ignore. Maybe the problem will go away if they just kind of keep forgetting about it. But it doesn't. And I think we know that. But I think when you present it to a group of people that are maybe feeling anxious about it in such a way that you just described, where you are, showing them how it can be used to generate some creativity, and it places them in the roles, right? Which then they start to gain empathy, which you talked about as one of those skills that employers, of course, are looking for. I think you've just lowered that threshold. You've just made it easier for people to, I'm not saying climb the bandwagon and become, the greatest AI advocates, but at least they're going to be much more open to it.
I'm going to take you on toward Jeremy, because you say things in a way that I can't convey in words sometimes. One of the best compliments I can ever get from somebody at one of my events is, I was hesitant about this. I was anxious about this. And you put it in a way that made me feel like I could be at the steering wheel. And I can use this and not lose my soul. I can do this and not lose my soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let me ask this then about AI as well, since we're just kind of on that topic here for another minute or two. But are there things when you discuss AI with educators that you present to them as being non-negotiable? Those things that I don't really want to have a debate about it, because when it comes to the role of AI in education, this should be the way that it is. Like for example, I hear a lot of people saying human-centered or human in the loop, as a non-negotiable thing. Are there any others that you think would be something that, is just, we have to accept that that's the way it is?
I think it's non-negotiable that we have to help at least our high school students have AI skills before they leave us. Now, I know people aren't. There's a lot of school systems who aren't
Mm-hmm.
doing that. And I mean, I'm a dad. I've got a college student, freshman. So we have lots of conversations about all this stuff. And I have a freshman in high school. And he received no formal training on AI as a senior in high school. And it just kind of made me think, other than don't do it. So I think, and every school system's different. Every state's different. There's mandates from the state districts. I think if we're truly, because I told you about the top 10 list of skills that employers want. Well, AI, it's a big list. And so they did the survey, the last results we have from 2 years ago. Well, AI wasn't on the top 10. It was a list of 100 things, but it wasn't on the top 10. It was on number 11. And it came out of nowhere, really, even then. But it's projected to be a top 5 on the next survey. Fastest growing skill that employers want. So, what are we doing? What? I mean, I don't have a job. if not for students.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably you all. I mean, we support maybe teachers, but they support students. And so I want students to be successful, and they're going to need training. That's non-negotiable for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people ask me like, hey, should we be talking about this in our schools? I'm like, yes, it should be, and it should be embedded. I'll give you one little quick example, and this is inspiring. But my son has a leg up on this because I'm going to hound him on it all the time. He's in a lit class, which, it's very easy to use AI and get a good grade in that class. I mean, yes. And I know there's detectors and all this kind of stuff, but we know that the detectors are kind of like, who knows if it's really true or not. He says, Dad, I wrote my paper. I said, did you really write your paper? Because I wrote my paper, and then I put my professor's rubric and criteria in ChatGPT with my paper, and I asked it to grade it and give me some feedback on it. And then I switched it up a little bit and took some of that advice from the bot. And I was like, you know what, that's a pretty good skill. Like, I'm not against that. That's I was like, but then I thought, does every high school student know about this? Or are we just like ostrich head in the sand?
So I could relate to something. Even for me recently, I was seeking this certification, and I would go back to, I would write myself, and honestly, I'd write myself what I wanted to write about whatever that topic was. Then I would bring it to ChatGPT and give it the rubric to which it was going to be assessed against. And I said, this is great. I appreciate the feedback. I'm going to use it to make my own changes. And what ChatGPT wanted to do was to rewrite it for me with those changes already applied. And it didn't matter how many times I would tell it, no, I'm good. I'm still going to do my own work here. But it always wanted to be such that helpful partner, and I think to your point is we need to be training the students to recognize, yes, you can let it do your work for you, but should you?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Well, what if I know you do a lot of professional development here, and and part of the way that I came into contact with you and brought David into the mix was some of that through a little snippet that you did for a co-op meeting that I was a part of. But along those lines here, I want to think about like a teacher attending one of your workshops, one of your sessions, one of your keynotes, presentations, whatever, comes up to you and says, I don't have time to teach one more thing. What do you say to that person?
I say, I'm sorry. And it's, I'm not in the business of being rude or being, I have this great liberty in the work that I do. I get to learn for a living. This is fun. And a lot of that joy, and by the way, educators by default, people like learning.
Mm-hmm.
But because of so many mandates and so many classroom management and complications, like it's tough. And so I'm going to be, and I haven't always been an empathetic person. This is, again, I told you, Miss Buffington has enough to cover the Southeast it's awesome. It's good to have her in my company all the time. So I'm going to say, I'm sorry. And then I'm going to share, listen, I'm going to share one nugget. I have buff nuggets, plural. I have each week they come out, like I'm talking 50-gallon drum all year, buff nuggets. I'm going to share one nugget that has a very low entry of energy and skill necessary. It depends on how much skill the educator has, where they get a win. And maybe that win is what ignites. Because right now, maybe they're just downtrodden and can't do much. And then if I have an opportunity to talk to leadership, then we're going to have conversations about what's the most important things happening in our classrooms.
What if I spin this the other way? Now you've got a teacher that comes to you and they're wanting to use every single tech tool, AI tool, in everything that's out there just because of the novelty of it. But their students are just becoming overwhelmed and they're getting lost.
Yeah. I'm going to say, oh, you're like me. That's me. I'm that person. I'm the person who brought the wireless router to the classroom. I'm the person who, I'm not proud of it, but I would, when I first started in this career, I would come to a district or whatever and go, here's 20 Chrome extensions. You need all these. One will turn your mouse cursor into Nicolas Cage. Very important stuff. And half of these are malicious, but I didn't know that. And so I'm going to say, with not as much probably empathy there, because like I don't know, I'll be like, we got to just slow down. I mean, I'm still gonna be loving, but let's slow down and let's pick one or two things that is gonna be the most beneficial with the time that you have. But also I gotta be careful. I don't want to like this is a hard one for me, man.
You don't want to stymie them too much.
I don't want to like extinguish the flame, brother. I just can't do that. Why'd you give me such a hard question? Because that to me is
okay. I'll give you one more.
I'm playing, man. But yeah, but that's a tough one. Do all the things like no. I'll just be like, I said, read the room.
How about one more scenario here? Right, you get brought in to do a lot of different workshop days, whether it's hour, 2 hour, half day, full day, whatever it happens to be. And sometimes it's, an administrator that comes to you and they don't necessarily want to have you, but someone said that they needed to. And their feeling towards tech PD is that it's just click here, click there, get out of the way. Now we've got real stuff to talk about.
Okay. This is good. So this is you know what I call that? I call that a challenge, and I love a good challenge. So, I with a group of people like that, and I do get an audience like that sometimes. I mean, like it could be an audience maybe full of folks who feel that way. Is I'm going right into heart things, not hard, difficult, but I'm going into heart things. How we can use tech to help our teachers. Or to them, I need to sell them on tech. But hey, if I could sell an admin on tech, say, hey, this tech will help you do things that only you can do, help you do things that can't be Googled. Or for instance, I might show them how to use an AI tool where they can make their own songs using AI, which I talk about in my newsletter a lot. And there's lots of ways we could use AI music, but maybe a song that they can use on the intercom for certain events that's custom, and they're using all the crazy stuff that the kids are into, like 6-7 and Sigma and whatever super cringe when adults say it. But show them things like that. So they're getting all this value. And they're like, wait, this isn't just about, being geeky and hitting buttons. This is about culture. Now that's a word admins love, and they hear it all the time. Right. And a lot of people write books about it. I haven't wrote a book yet, so I'm glad you guys have me on your podcast. I don't have a book yet, but one day I just have buff nuggets. So, but you say culture, and people go, "Who? What's that? Culture?" Yeah. So yeah.
So Brian, we always end usually with a lightning round of questions, and you can kind of take these however you want to. Like they can be one-word responses or a sentence or whatever's appropriate. Some technology, some we try to get more on the personal side of things, who you are and things like that. But just to kick us off here, what do you think about what is the creative work outside of education that keeps your EdTech spark alive?
Music, man. I'm a musician, so I write music. I do have an album. It's on Spotify. My hit song is 8th Grade Mustache. So go check it out. So there you go. Music is what, and plus music's part of my show. If I ever come to an event where you guys are there, I'll have my guitar. We'll do music, man.
Well, I think that leads me into my next one then. I'm going to go a little out of order here, but what's your walk-up song? What song motivates you to get up in front of a group of people?
Well, I have my own walkout song depending on the event. I just create one. That's based. I use AI to make it, so it depends on, like, if it's like a Minnesota Lakeathon where I come there and I'll just talk about lakes and trout and fish and buff nuggets. Like, I'll just make one. But if it's not a custom AI song, it's probably something like I Believe in a Thing Called Love by The Darkness, just because that guy can sing so high, and that's totally random. No, I haven't said on a show before ever, but I do believe love is what's going to get us through it. So for those who don't know the song, it's a very high falsetto. Like, I believe in a thing called love, just listen to the rhythm of my heart, like that.
Okay, next one is what's one analog thing you still can't give up?
I have some Casio watches I like to wear. Yeah, just old school, like $10 ones from Walmart. I do have an Apple Watch. I use it to monitor health and movement, but sometimes it makes me feel like I'm too connected.
How about this? Finish this sentence. Technology is best when it
doesn't steal our joy.
All right, and then next one is biggest facepalm tech fail you've experienced or witnessed in a classroom.
Okay, I'll tell you one. And I was doing PD. I was at a place called Brasstown. It was called Brasstown Bald. It was a retreat center up here in Georgia, and I was at a podium, and the sign fell off while I was speaking. The sign fell off, and so they had a new sign in front of the old sign. When the new sign fell off, there was the old sign, but the old sign, instead of Brasstown, it was missing the first two letters of brass. And we had a hard time doing anything else for at least 20, 30 minutes, man. And that's the most analog, beautiful thing to happen in a EdTech event for me.
Awesome. All right, one more. What's your go-to snack while you're making a buff nugget?
That's going to be a Coca-Cola bottle, a glass probably, and putting some salted peanuts inside of the bottle. That's going to be the buff nugget snack. And
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll show you how. I'll buy you.
Awesome. Well, Brian, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your time and your stories with us. I think it is pretty amazing the things that you're doing. But we want to also give you the opportunity to be able to let people know how to get a hold of you. Share out, any contact information you have, what are the best avenues to get there, and to promote anything you've got coming up or going on.
Sure. For one, your show, I really appreciate you guys being professional. You had this put together. Obviously, you put a lot of time in this, and I do see that. If people enjoyed any of the nuggets that came out today, if it resonated with you, I have a weekly newsletter. It's called Buff Nuggets, and it goes out every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Eastern. So that means if you're Central, you get it earlier than everybody else, right? In a way, I guess.
So.
Yeah. So you get it at 8. So you can go to my website. It's Brian with an I, and it'll probably be in the show notes as well. But Brian with an I, Buffington.com, and there's a subscribe button there. I'm also my wife and I are about to open a store with all my shirts. So right now I just give away a lot of shirts when I'm at events. But I have a new one. It's pretty cool. It's got puff paint. Can I show you guys? This is exclusive on your podcast. Hold on.
Okay. And as he's grabbing that, we'll definitely link all of these in the show notes.
So this one says creator's going to create. And it's puff paint. And it's going to be hard to see the texture, but you can kind of see it there.
Oh, I can see it's raised there.
Oh, it's raised. I'm very excited about these. So it's because I want students creating things and teachers. It's going to be fun. And I think that's about it, guys. So if you get the newsletter, you're going to know all about things I'm doing. And I can't wait for the day I get to, spend some time in Minnesota. So thanks for having me, guys.
Yep. Thanks a lot.